There we go. Looks like we've got sound finally again. So let's try that again. Hello, my name is Chris. Welcome to The Left Speaks. 2 days after Christmas. Merry Christmas to everybody. This is what you just got from Republicans for the new year. Democrats have passed 2 stimulus checks. Excuse me, 2 coronavirus bills. Thank you to the studio person. 3 now, one of which Republicans finally agreed to, until Trump decided it wasn't good enough after jumping in at the last minute. Now, if you think it has to do with the amount of the stimulus check itself, you're being misled. One of the key provisions of ensuring that the stimulus continued was the unemployment benefit that was going to people that were unemployed from COVID. To make sure that they maintain that unemployment benefit and to make sure that they got that extra money that we provided because to people who were unemployed due to coronavirus. By letting it expire, by waiting to the last minute to throw a temper tantrum, by trying to blame Democrats, who, I remind you again, passed not 1, not 2, but 3 separate attempts to get a stimulus passed, a second stimulus. That's what was accomplished here. Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, yeah, they were involved in the initial round of second stimulus checks that were supposed to be passed, and they were the ones advocating for $2,000 or greater. I'm happy Trump is finally on the right side of this. I mean, I guess even a blind squirrel finds a nut occasionally. But by waiting till the last minute to veto this, by ignoring his Treasury Secretary who was involved after the Republicans shot down the second attempt at this, and then I guess not informing his Treasury Secretary that $600 wasn't sufficient and would cause him to veto the bill, this is where we're ending up. No benefits, everything expired. Congratulations, the typical Republican message. Fuck you, you're on your own. Go find some bootstraps to pull yourself up by. We don't care about the situation. We don't care that it's not your fault. We don't care that we're in the middle of a global pandemic and there's not a damn thing that you personally can do about it. We don't even care that you want to work and you would prefer to be out working and that you would prefer that all this stuff was handled. We don't care that we, the Republicans, mismanaged the shit out of this, which is why it's still going on. We don't care that every other developed country, Britain, Germany, Japan, South Korea, the Netherlands, has provided over 70% of your paycheck every week during this pandemic if you were unemployed. No. Fuck you. We're going to let it all expire. We'll ignore the fact that we only gave you $1,200 or $1,800 to last you, what, 6, 7, 8 months now? We'll ignore the fact that Democrats passed 2 separate bills in the House where they can control it. 2 separate bills, both of which gave a bigger stimulus check than the $600 that Republicans in the Senate would finally agree to. We'll ignore the fact that the Republican Senate still hasn't managed to pass their own version of a proposal, and that the $600 bill is what we had to compromise to get past anything. No. Somehow, we're going to blame this on the Democrats. It's beyond belief. We're in 1984 George Orwell territory here. Just believe what the party is telling you. Just believe what Donald Trump says. This is the Democrats' fault. Now, forgive me if I repeat myself because of the sound issues we were having a minute ago. I'm happy that Donald Trump wants people to get more money. We've been there all along. The difference is between us and Donald Trump, we've been saying it all along, and we passed shit to get that done all along. Republicans in the Senate are the ones who didn't pass anything. Republicans in the Senate are the ones who would only agree to a $600 stimulus check. Democrats had taken their 2 swings. 3 strikes and you're out, because on the 3rd strike, all the unemployment benefits go away. Anybody who was paying their rent from that unemployment benefit with the extra COVID money attached to it, yeah, they've struck out now. Trump could have been saying this for 8-9 months now. And he could have been hammering his own party. You know, before and during the election. I bet they would have listened then. Now that he's lost the election and he's on his way out the door, you expect me to believe this is anything other than political theater? Anything other than bullshit? Anything other than a way for Republicans to cut spending and not give a damn what happens to average Americans right now after they mismanaged the shit out of this pandemic, which is why we're still dealing with it to the extent that we are? My opinion, this boils down to 2 things. 1, let's leave a mess, as big of a mess as possible, for President-elect Biden to have to clean up when he comes in office. Hell, Trump just vetoed the defense spending bill too. A bill that has passed for, I believe, it is 59 years straight now. So why not veto this one? We'll let Biden take over our wrecked economy with people getting evicted because, oh yeah, that protection went away too when this bill expired. And people starving because, oh yeah, that money you were counting on, not the stimulus check, the unemployment checks, that money went away too. You know, there was a much easier way to do this. Let's just say, for some reason, because we know Trump doesn't plan a damn thing anyway, he just wings it. But let's just say suddenly in the middle of the night it dawned on him because, I don't know, his secretary explained to him that $600 wasn't going to pay rent, because when do you think the last time Trump paid rent was? Is probably one of his tenants. You know, one of his property managers came to him and said, "Sir, the rent in all of your buildings is more than $600. If these people don't get money, more than $600, you're not getting money." And he went, "Oh shit, we got to get them more money." Okay, but let's just say you figured this out at the last minute. That you couldn't listen to the Bernie Sanders and the Kamala Harrises because they're evil Democrats. And it's a part of a big socialist agenda, as you heard the Republican in the House sitting there screaming. By the way, they're still saying that. Republican Senator Rand Paul, just right after Trump vetoed this damn thing, was saying, oh, yeah, it's just a stupid egghead liberal socialist idea to give people free money. It's not free money. It's our tax dollars, you jackass. But let's just say, again, for sake of argument, that this finally dawned on him. He had a moment of empathy, a moment of compassion, a moment of reality that maybe, just maybe, putting a huge chunk of the American population into the streets because they can't pay their rent anymore, and also while starving because they can't afford to buy food, maybe that wasn't a good idea. Now, I'm not a president or a legislator or a lawmaker or a lawyer. But it seems to me like the rational course of action would be, hold on, this bill doesn't give as big a stimulus check as I would like, but it still gives people the unemployment benefit and it keeps them from being evicted into the streets. Let me sign this bill because a small part of something is better than all of nothing. And then let me go after the people who've been blocking the larger stimulus check. You know, the Republicans. What can I threaten Republicans with right now? Oh, that's right. We've got those 2 races in Georgia for the Senate. I'm going to pull Mitch McConnell off to the side and the Republican leadership, if I don't want to put them publicly on blast, because we are running some Senate races here, and say, hey, pass a bigger bill for just a stimulus check by this point in time, say, I don't know, 4 days, 5 days, a week, or I'm going to make this public. And I'm going to put you and the Republican Senate on blast. I'm going to let the entire state of Georgia know that if they want a bigger bill, if they want a larger stimulus check, if they want a third stimulus check to add to that little measly, piddly, ridiculous $600 amount y'all passed, that they need to vote Democrat. You're never even going to have to go down there and make that campaign. The Republicans have been scared to death of you for 4 years now. They know your voters are dedicated and vote the way you tell them to vote and only listen to what you say. Why do you think they just dismissed the impeachment against you? Why do you think they haven't looked at any of the corruption charges against you? Why do you think the only Republicans who will speak out against you are the ones that are not running for office again? Or they're in completely safe states like Utah. Because Utah voters don't seem to like you very much. So Mitt Romney can say whatever he wants. But Georgia? Kentucky? They're going to be races again. They're going to want to trot you out and hold your rallies. And hopefully by then there's not COVID. So that way you're not, killing more people than you're gaining votes. But that's number one. I mean, I'm not any kind of mathematician. Actually, I kind of am. I mean, I did finance for a living. But You don't have to do finance for a living to know that if you give people one check for $600 and then you force the Senate, you can pass another check for $1,400 and that adds up to $2,000. It's a miracle. You didn't get it all at once, but you keep people getting their unemployment money, and you keep people from getting evicted because they lost their jobs. Again, not through any fault of their own. We're not talking about lazy, deadbeat freeloaders here. We're talking about people who lost their job during a pandemic that you called a hoax and suggested we all take IVs full of disinfectant like Lysol and bleach as a treatment. You also literally suggested we shine sunshine up our rear ends and that would make it go away. So instead of keeping people in their homes and keeping people having money coming in the door, instead of seriously pushing for a larger stimulus amount before the last minute, you just decided to ignore all of that. Let's wait till the absolute last minute and then screw it. I don't care how many people get hurt along the way. I don't care if people end up homeless in the streets. I don't care if people are hungry in the meantime. I want to send out a tweet saying that I want people to have $2,000 per person. And we'll ignore the fact that by the time they get that $2,000, they're going to be homeless, evicted, and they will have lost more than that in unemployment benefits. And the most ridiculous part of all of this, your quote saying the Democrats were the ones blocking all of this. The Democrats were the ones that when you passed it said, yeah, we're on board. Let's all get back to the House and we'll try to pass this by unanimous consent before Christmas. Talk to the Republicans, tell them that they need to pass this or you're going to come out against them and we'll get it done. And did you do anything besides sit with your thumb up your butt and go, Democrats bad? No, you didn't do anything. Who voted against this thing in the Senate? Republicans. Who voted against this thing in the House? Republicans. Who voted against the bill before that with the larger stimulus amount? Republicans. Who voted against the bill before that with the even larger stimulus amount? Republicans. Oh, but we didn't like those bills. Fine, show me the ones you passed. Oh, that's right. A big fat fucking zero. We didn't pass anything. We're just a party of no. And this isn't anything new. This is a continuous, constant pattern when Republicans are actually in office. Republicans are not a party of ideas. The only idea they have is cut taxes anymore. You know how I know this? They had 8 years from the time Obama got in office to the time Obama was out of office to come up with a health care plan. We don't like Obamacare. We don't like the Affordable Care Act. Okay. Well, the country seems to. So what's your better idea? Trump ran on it. We're going to repeal and replace Obamacare. We're going to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act. There's going to be a Trump care. It'll be better and it'll be stronger and it'll be more affordable for everybody. And at the beginning of the Trump administration, we had a Republican president. We had a Republican Senate. We had a Republican House. What did they pass? With 10 years to think about it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm sure we'll find a way to blame Democrats for that one too. Even though we were in control of the House of Representatives, we were in control of the Senate, and we were in control of the presidency. Republicans, we had all three branches, but somehow those incompetent, tricky Democrats managed to befuddle us, and we couldn't pass a damn thing. This time around, Democrats managed to pass 3 separate bills. No to the first one, no to the second one, now a presidential no to the third one. But it's the Democrats' fault. While again, we the Republicans have managed to accomplish jack shit. I can't possibly meet you in the middle. I can't possibly compromise with you when all you just say is no and will not tell me what you want. And I'm not talking about you, the individual viewer. You might say, hey, I want this bill, or hey, I want that out of there, or hey, I want this out of there. You're electing people who are not doing that. Oh, we've got the left frustrated. I don't understand why. Yeah, you do. Every couple in the world understands why. Hey, baby, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. What about pizza? No. What about Italian? No. What about Chipotle? No. Well, what do you want? I don't know. Well, what about McDonald's? No, not that. Well, what about Cajun food? No, not right now. Not tonight. We just want the best. I just want the best meal ever. Okay. What about a 5-star restaurant down on the Las Vegas Strip? No, that's too expensive. Not that. Everybody, at least at one point in their life, once they've been old enough to be in a relationship, has had that discussion. Men and women both. And both of us want to rip our hair out. Now, when that partner at dinner wants to complain that they never get what they want to eat, I want to shoot myself. How in the hell is this my fault? Babe, why are we eating down on the Strip at a 5-star restaurant? I told you I just wanted Subway. I suggested Subway. I asked you what the hell you wanted. You never gave me an answer. I suggested 15 different restaurants, including Subway. Well, I didn't want it right then. This is the highest levels of government. And you can't even define a position. And you can't, speaking to the viewer now, you can't vote for people who can do better than this? Seriously? Okay, you didn't like the first stimulus bill. It was $3.3 or $3.4 trillion, too much money. We want to spend less money. Had some climate change shit in there and other stuff I disagree with. I'm not going to pass that. Okay. You pass something. You suggest something. You suggest something more than just no, not that. And then we'll have a conversation. Then we can start meeting somewhere. But until you do that, until you can actually accomplish a single thing, until you can make a single actual policy suggestion, which in the real world means passing a fucking bill, somebody has to step up and make the decision for you. Or we all end up going hungry, which apparently is what we're going to do now. And for the trolls out there, I'm still employed, so I'm not pissed because it affects me personally. As a progressive liberal, I live in reality land and can see that a lot of the people that need these benefits were working before this pandemic was managed terribly. And they don't deserve to be homeless because your president is a moron. Now, like I said, I welcome the president's support on this. The way he did it, literally telling millions of people, I know you just spent some money on Christmas. I know you thought that you had a budget you could count on because the House and the Senate passed a bill to continue the unemployment that you were receiving. But fuck you. Not today. You're going to have to wait till the next administration. Yeah. I can be pissed on their behalf. I can love this country enough, which isn't just loving a flag or a piece of paper, but actually giving a shit about the welfare of the people here, the American citizens that live here, that make up this country. Yeah. It doesn't have to affect me personally for me to be pissed about it. The second reason that I can't prove, but I strongly, strongly suspect, is that Republicans, on some level, know that they have lost this election. The pacifier of election fraud seems to be dissipating a little bit. Even Trump, in his 4-minute speech, said that the next administration will have to handle this. And maybe it'll be me. No, it won't, jackass. You lost and every court has thrown it out because you have no evidence of any of this stuff. But that's a side note. At least you're starting in your head to admit that there's going to be a next administration. So Progress. The toddler learned to tie his shoes. I'm happy. It's not a perfect knot, but it's progress. Okay? But the one thing that Republicans always campaign on when they're not in office is the deficit. Oh, we're spending too much. Oh, the economy's in a recession under Joe Biden. Oh, the economy was in a recession when Obama took office. Oh, he had to spend too much. Now, you haven't heard about that for 4 years because we're setting record deficits. And the economy right now is floating on borrowed time. I think everybody can recognize that if we don't get this pandemic under some sort of control, the economy is not going to be as strong as it was for the last, 20 years probably. Something about lots of people dying and lots of people, taking on a ton of new debt. Medical debt in this case, because we're in the middle of a fucking pandemic. Yeah. It's not good for the economy. But it's really hard to run on Republicans are going to take care of the deficit. Republicans are the party of responsibility. Republicans grow the economy. When you're running the largest deficit and have been in the history of this country. When you had all three branches of government, you didn't come close to reducing the deficit or reducing the federal budget. And if you can kick this COVID bill off to the next administration, the Democrat administration, maybe, just maybe, we'll just say all that money, all that deficit, yeah, that's Joe Biden's. Maybe we can get Joe Biden's total higher than Trump's, so we can still pretend to be the party of personal responsibility and fiscal responsibility. You haven't heard a single thing about deficit spending, about increasing the national debt and how that's a bad thing, about how we should be fiscally responsible for 4 years. Because Republicans don't have any ideas. They're just the party of no. Oh, I take that back. We got one idea. Let's give the rich a permanent tax cut. That's our idea. We're just going to keep giving rich people permanent tax cuts. Past that, we got no ideas except no. But now that we're not going to have a Republican president, now we have to start caring about it again. Now, we're going to have to campaign on this in a couple of years. Because it's a whole lot easier to say, yeah, you're spending too much money, when you're not the one in charge of how it's got to be spent and keeping the lights on and keeping the electricity running and keeping the water going to your house and everything else. Now, to try and make this a simple analogy, the American people, we own a house. That's our government. We've got two sets of tenants. They keep coming in and out of the House. The Democrats come in. And they keep the House in decent shape. Furniture's still there. Lights are still on. Trash is going out. But they do it by using credit cards. And you think, that's not very responsible of them. We need to get them out of there. Let's put in the Republicans, our second tenant. And they come in. And instead of spending the money on sewage, making sure the toilet's flush, instead of spending the money on electricity, basic infrastructure thing, they spend the money on guns and ammo and spend their time shooting in the backyard. They do it on credit cards too. And then, when the sewage starts backing up and the house starts stinking and the electricity quits working, basic infrastructure starts falling down, you got walls crumbling and shit, you think, hey, maybe I should vote those guys out. They're running up the same credit cards, but my house looks like shit. So you throw the Republicans out. Then the Democrats have to come back in. And they have to spend more money on their credit cards because now, in addition to keeping the power actually going, they got to fix the damn wall. They got to get the toilets working again. If Republicans actually came in and said, hey, we got to make this shit balanced. We got to find a way to, I don't know, like the original George W. Bush said, I don't want to increase taxes, but we got to be fiscally responsible. We're going to cut some here. We're going to increase some taxes over here. So that way we can keep the lights on and quit spending on credit cards. Hey, that's a party that I might disagree with. I probably wouldn't disagree with it. But even if I did, I could at least respect them. But that's not what we're dealing with here. It's just smoke and mirrors. Because as you see, when they've been in power, they don't give a damn about the deficit. They don't give a damn about debt spending. But we can slide it off to the next guy so we can make his total higher than our guys. And then we'll just blame the Democrats when they're running 2 and 4 years from now and say, oh, you're lying. That was Joe Biden's debt. Look, Joe Biden ran up this huge total. It was even bigger than Trump's. See, we're more responsible. When in reality, we're having to clean up your fucking mess because you wanted to call a global pandemic a hoax, because you waited to the last minute to voice your concern on a pandemic relief bill that's necessary because of number one, you mismanaged the shit out of the pandemic because it wasn't a hoax. Also in the news this week, and the way that I know that these people are lying to you again, this hoax of a pandemic, this it's not a big deal of a pandemic, this, Oh, you're going to be just fine. It's not really 345,000 and counting dead Americans. No, it's no big deal. You notice all these lawmakers didn't miss their opportunity to go get that COVID vaccination. They're just telling you it's not a big deal. It's unimportant. Hey guys, give me the shot. Your health care? No, we can't afford that. You don't need it. America's got the best health care in the world. When Trump gets sick, where does he go? Oh, that's right. Walter Reed, a military, aka a government hospital. But don't worry. No, you're just fine the way you are. The pandemic's a hoax. Words lie. Start looking at what they're actually doing. Start looking at facts. Start looking at evidence. If the Republicans had been able to come out with this damn relief bill and passed multiple competing bills, and they'd been going back and forth, and Trump wanted to come out and veto the damn thing and say, hey, it's the Democrats' fault, that's an arguable position. Because you can point to your work, and the Democrats can point to their work, and both sides can point at each other and say, yeah, they were blocking me because there was stuff I didn't like in here and stuff I didn't like in there. That's not what happened. Democrats have a body of work to point to. Republicans have jack shit. Republicans have bullshit. Quit believing the lies. Quit buying it. I'm not saying the Democrats do everything right. I disagree with them on plenty of stuff. I've mentioned it before on this show. But when the evidence, the storyline, what actually happened is blatantly laid out, step for step for step for step, and you have nothing to show, no work actually done, I mean, guys, look, we all worked on group projects in high school. They suck. One side always ends up doing more work than the other side. You got people that don't do what they're supposed to do. Everybody hates it. It's much easier to just do the damn work yourself. But that's not the way our government is set up. Because the country's made up of more than one person, so we don't always get our way. I get that. But if you had two students come to you after they got a D on a group project, and one of them said, it's all Sally's fault. And Sally said, here's all the work I actually did. And Susie over here, you say, can I see your work? And she goes, it's all Sally's fault. I just didn't like Sally's work. Yeah, but can I see your work? Well, it's very clear whose fault it is in that case. Very clear. That's not Susie had one set of work, Sally had a different thing, and they just couldn't agree on how to merge it together. That's at least understandable. Hey, you two guys shouldn't work together. We'll find you new partners. That's not what happened here. We got one kid doing all the work, and we got the other one going, nope, not good enough. Nope, not good enough. Nope, not good enough. But I'm not going to do a damn thing to help. I'm not going to do a damn thing to contribute to anything. I'm not going to do a damn thing to actually try and solve any of these problems. I'm just going to sit with my thumb up my ass and go, nope, not good enough. Republicans, you can do better. The Republicans and conservatives I know are hardworking individuals. A lot of them are just as driven as I am, if not more so. And most of them would hate it if they were having to carry somebody else's ass at work. And if somebody else just kept bullshitting that they were actually doing their job while they were having to cover for them. Why are you voting for people that are doing this to you? The Republicans and conservatives I know and I grew up with, if we were all at the same job, I can't tell you how many times I've heard, yeah, that guy, he's an asshole, but he gets the job done. He works. I just don't like him very much. That guy over there, he's a lazy motherfucker. He doesn't do jack shit. We need to get rid of him. You might not like Democrats right now, but they're the only ones putting in the work. They're the only ones passing bills. They're the ones trying to get the job done. And the lazy sons of bitches y'all are voting for, they're the ones not doing anything. You don't have to like Democrats, but you need to start voting for people that get a job done, that get something done. Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader, the lead Republican in Congress, when Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats in the House passed their $3.3 or $3.4 trillion stimulus and sent it over to the Senate, said, nope, that's too big. Here's a $500 billion suggestion. And he couldn't even get it passed in the Senate, where Republicans have a majority. If you were working with these people, you would call them full of shit, and you would say they were lazy and that they were incompetent, and you would be telling your boss they need to get rid of them and get somebody who'll actually work. Not go on vacation during crunch time like Mitch McConnell did. And you want to know how to fix this? You don't have to tell your boss you don't like him. You don't have to try and get the entire country or the entire workplace to say this guy's a lazy POS. You don't have to write down every time he doesn't do his job. All you got to do is vote for a Democrat a couple of times, and Republicans will figure out, hey, this not working thing isn't working for us. And they'll fix it. They'll change. They'll actually start doing stuff. But there's exactly two things of any note that this administration has managed to accomplish, half of which it had a friendly Congress for. You got your tax cut. The tax cut for the middle class expires. The larger tax cut for the very rich people does not expire. You got a Supreme Court justice because somebody died and you stole a seat. That's it. From the chat, I'm just tired of the same selfish game that conservatives play. You would think that even conservatives would want a relief bill. It surprises me that anyone would vote for somebody who wouldn't fight for this country or try to help the country. Conservatives want less interference from the government, but let me know how that works when you can't make your bills and no longer have a job or a home. Even one of my conservative friends on Facebook started saying the same sentiment. Basically, his version was, I'm not going to blame poor people when they riot this time. The problem's not the individual conservative. The individual conservative, at least, and I'm talking your average middle class individual conservative here, but they know somebody that's been affected by this. They know somebody that's probably barely scraping by. They know somebody that had a much smaller Christmas than they normally have because they're surviving on unemployment benefits and the COVID bonus from unemployment benefits. They may know people that are going down to the food bank every weekend and sitting in those now hours-long lines. The average conservative realizes that $600 was an insult. What they don't realize, and what they don't bother to look at, and what they don't bother to defend, is why we waited to the last minute, why Trump waited to the last minute to start voicing this seriously. He made one or two tweets prior to this saying that he wanted $1,600 or $1,800, I forget which. And why they're not blaming the Republican Party. Because even if you want to argue that, hey, Trump's always been behind this, sure, he could have done more, but he's a busy man. It's the Republican Party. Democrats have passed stimulus checks for much greater amounts when they had control. This was a very simple solution. If Georgia had voted flat out for 2 blue senators, hey, guess what we'd have? A larger stimulus check. That's it. Problem solved. I'm sure Trump would have found a problem with that bill too. But that's your answer. Donald Trump, you want a larger stimulus check from the House and the Senate? Cool. Go campaign for the 2 senators down in Georgia. The Democratic ones. Put your damn money where your mouth is. Start taking all that money that you're hustling off people for your election fraud stuff. You know, where it says down in the fine print that 60% of it goes to your political action committee. and like 30% of it goes to the Republican National Committee and like 10% of it goes towards the actual election defense fund or whatever the hell you called it. Yeah. Take some of that money you're grifting from people, swing it behind the 2 Democratic senators. There you go. You'll get your larger stimulus check. You won't be able to sign it. Joe Biden will. But you'll get it. Because we're not the problem here. We're not the ones not doing any work. Your team is. So why don't you go fix it? You know, since you're supposed to be the leader of that team, why don't you go fix it? Team captains in high school know this. If their teammates are being lazy, they'll call each other out. Hey, quit being a lazy son of a bitch. I need you to run your route. Quit half-assing it out there. It's game time, baby. Let's go. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after that. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Thank you for the short break. Now we're going to dive into conspiracy theory land, because I ended up in one of those discussions. They seem to be coming out of the woodwork right now. Christmas Day. Fun, fun, fun. So, the proof that we've all been waiting for, that coronavirus is a hoax. This was linked to me. This is the evidence. This is the one that's gonna prove it, guys. Hold on to your butts. That's what I got messed up.
And just found this really interesting video online about coronavirus and this magical number of 33. How do counties and states and governments come in and all of them come back with 33 new cases unless it's all bullshit? Take a look.
No, as of today, and I say as of today at this hour, we have 33 confirmed positive tests for the virus.
Yesterday we had 22 cases. Today we have 33 cases, so it has gone up by 11. That brings, those are 11 new cases. 22 goes to 33.
As we sort through this here in Arkansas, today we have 33 confirmed positive cases in Arkansas.
As of today, we have 33 confirmed cases with Boston residents.
Okay, now we're not going to watch 5 minutes of this garbage.
19 cases in Rhode Island jumps by 33
but it literally just
overnight.
continues
We
with
have
a bunch
some
of clips.
Stunning new
of people saying
numbers to
33.
share with you of new unemployment claims just made in the past week, Sagar.
Yeah, that's right. So the unemployment claims just broke from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. 3.3 million unemployment claims just in the last week.
Whoops,
Worst
he accidentally
trading
said
day
3.3.
in
That's 33.
years.
And that brings the total right now actually to 33 deaths that we're aware of, sadly.
Is there any conclusion to this?
5,300 and 4 more deaths reported overnight.
Nope,
The
just
death toll
more
now
repetitions
stands
of the
at
number 33.
33.
This is when I pretty much cease being a conservative. Not this video specifically. But when I had to start believing in global conspiracy theories to remain a conservative, I gave it up. I bet I can go clip, if I wanted to spend hours doing it, tons of people saying the number 22. We'll ignore the fact that viruses reproduce and spread in relatively predictable mathematical ways. There's a reason we can project this shit. It's because we know what the rate of transmission is. It's the same virus, so it would make sense that if I took the entire world, I could find 15 or 20 places where they happen to say the same number at the beginning. We'll also ignore the fact that, especially in the States, the tests were limited at the beginning. We only had so many tests. Maybe they only had 33 tests they could do that day. Maybe the state or the city or the county next to them had 24 cases that day, but we'll leave them out because they didn't say the magic number 33. But seriously, guys, this is why when you put money in the stock market, you can look at the average rate of return of what it normally does and project with relatively good accuracy what it's going to do over the next 6 months, over the next year, over the next 5 years, over the next 10 years. And this is a virus. It's not a beyond our comprehension. We've developed a vaccine for it. Multiple vaccines in multiple different companies. But this was the proof that I was given. And I swear to God, I'm not picking the worst proof that they give me when I cover this stuff on my episodes. Now this guy, and I left his name off of it, but the gentleman, not the guy that was narrating the video at the beginning, the gentleman who linked this to me, was invited to call in and said he was probably going to do it. My lines are empty because these guys know they can't defend this shit. They drop a YouTube link and skitter off into the internet never land because they're cowards and they know it's bullshit. They know there's nothing to this. They know that you can project a population rate, whether it's in a virus or whether it's in people, or whether it's in hamsters or rabbits or cows or dogs or anything else. Averages work because a lot of places are going to have the same or similar numbers. And even then, you were so desperate when you made that video that you had to clip somebody who misspoke to support your 33 narrative. And let's pretend for a minute that all of it was true, that it was 33. The magic number 33 proves that the whole world's in on it. The whole world. This is what you're talking about. Multiple governments around the world, a lot of which don't like each other. China and the United States, China and Russia, the United States and Russia, the United States and Iran, Iran and Russia, the United Kingdom and Iran, Germany, France, Brazil, Japan, South Korea, and North Korea. All of them were in on it, and nobody spilled the secret. That's just the governments. But wait, there's more. All the different medical organizations around the world. The CDC's in on it. The WHO is in on it. The WHO is in the pocket of China. So apparently is the CDC in the United States. All of the epidemiologists, all the doctors that study pandemics, they're in on it. Not just the ones in the CDC, not just the ones in the United States. The ones in China, the ones in Russia, the ones in Germany, not the ones that work for their governments either, the ones that are just doctors in those countries. They're all in on it too. All the different hospitals that y'all think are reporting all these fake numbers, they're in on it too. Oh, well, they're just doing it in the United States because they can make more money from COVID patients. Well, we'll ignore the fact that you can't prove any of that. But Canada has that lovely socialist health care you want to complain about. They ain't making money from it. The United Kingdom, they've got that wonderful socialist health care that you want to complain about. They ain't making money from it. Germany, they've got that wonderful socialist health care you want to complain about. They ain't making money from it. All the different pharmaceutical companies, you know, the ones that were developing these vaccines, if one of them had developed this virus, like I've been told happened, well, they kind of blew their opportunity to make a lot of money by waiting until 4 or 5 other companies all developed the vaccine at the same time. So you've got not only countries that are competing with each other, not only doctors and scientists that are competing with each other, not only hospitals that are competing with each other, but now you've got companies that are competing with each other to make a dollar. All in on this conspiracy. And that's not the only conspiracy theory I have to believe to be a Republican conservative anymore. Now I've got to believe that there's massive election fraud coordinated across multiple states, coordinated across multiple counties, coordinated across multiple polling locations within those counties, under the careful eye of poll watchers from both parties, all to get rid of Donald Trump. But somehow not the Republican senators and House members who won their reelection and the Republican governors who won their reelection. No, everybody was out to rig this against Donald Trump, including now the Supreme Court, which is majority conservative. They're incompetent now too. They're part of the conspiracy now too. Just you wait. We're going to fix this yet. You know what we've been hearing for, oh, just wait 2 weeks. The evidence is coming. Oh, just wait 2 weeks. The evidence is coming. What is it? 57 court cases now dismissed before it even got to the Supreme Court? By Republican judges? By Democratic judges? By judges that were appointed by President Trump himself? But I got to believe that conspiracy theory now to be a Republican and to be a Trump supporter now too. So now I'm up to 2 conspiracies. Oh, wait, there's more. Global warming being influenced by people is a hoax. We'll ignore the fact that 4% of scientists who are experts in the field of climate change, yeah, they all agree it's a real thing and it's happening and we're the ones causing it. We being people, not America. Not 99% of scientists in the United States, not 99% of the scientists who work for NASA. 99% of the scientists who are experts in their field around the fucking globe. But they're all in on it, guys. They're the ones that are trying to sell you a fake bill of goods so they can, I don't know, get rid of coal jobs in West Virginia or something. The entire world, including scientists in friendly countries and scientists in countries that don't like us very much, they're all out to get the United States economy. And I know this is true because a Republican senator can make a snowball in the winter. For those of you who didn't know, Republican senator walked into Congress and said climate change was fake because he had a snowball. Jack Imhoff or something, I think. Yes, that's an intentional misplay on his name, but you can look it up. Republican senator walks into Congress with a snowball. What's next, guys? The moon landing was fake? The earth is actually flat instead of round? What else do I have to believe? In the face of all the evidence, in the face of all the expertise, in the face of fucking reality, what else would I have to believe to still be a conservative Republican? Oh, I know. The Democrats are the ones that are responsible for the small stimulus checks, which is why Trump had to veto the bill and say fuck you to your unemployment benefits and fuck you to your eviction moratorium. You know, that thing that's letting you stay in your house when you can't afford your rent during a global pandemic. How many, speaking directly to my conservative viewers here at this point, how many conspiracy theories do there have to be before it's too many for you? What's going to be the one that breaks the camel's back where you're finally going to vote these assholes out? Where you're finally going to start engaging with reality? Where you're finally going to start voting for people that even if you don't like them and don't agree with them 100% of the time, they at least put in the work and they at least acknowledge that reality exists and facts are real and they don't make up horse shit. How far off the deep end, how far into global conspiracy land do we have to go before it's too far for you? Think about that. And I would honestly love to hear your answers in the comments, on the next show. Lines toll free. You are more than welcome to call in. During the chat, if you don't like your voice on air. But that's a sincere question. How many? What would it take for you to vote against the Republican Party? Because when I asked that question online, in person, on this show, I never get an answer. How far is too far? There has to be a point. And I want to know what it is for you. Because for me, it was a few conspiracy theories ago. It got too unbelievable. He did it for America, from the chat, from Kelvin. Welcome back, Kelvin. He did it for America. They wanted to strip the right to use martial law from all presidents. Defeats the purpose of the executive branch. We don't need money going to other countries right now when we need to help our own. They took all year to come up with that bill. We need just a stimulus package with nothing attached. Kelvin, I'm guessing you just tuned in. We're actually wrapping up the show. The first half of the show, as I pointed out, the Democrats have passed 3 stimulus bills, counting the one that was just vetoed. The Republican Senate has passed just this last one that the president vetoed. So the Republicans literally have no work to show done. The Democrats have 3 sets of work done. Trump could have been running on this during the campaign. I don't disagree with Trump that $2,000 would be a hell of a lot more acceptable than $600. I don't disagree with Trump's statement on that. I disagree with the method in which he did it. $600 right now plus $1,400 still equals $2,000, and it lets people keep getting their COVID unemployment money, and it keeps people from getting evicted, which was part of that stimulus bill. Sets of work is up for debate using that term. No, it's really not. You've got 3 bills that were passed in the House. You have just the one that just got vetoed by a Republican from the Senate. You still have 2 bills with larger stimulus checks sitting in the House or sitting in the Senate waiting to be even voted on. This is no different than if you and your girlfriend were trying to decide where to go out to dinner and she just kept saying, I don't know, no, not that. They're not making any suggestions. A bill is an actual suggestion. When the Democrats passed their first bill, the 3.3 or 3.4 trillion that had the climate change stuff in there and et cetera that y'all didn't like, that's fine. You can have the disagreement with that, okay? If the Republicans had passed a bill in the Senate and said, hey, this is what we'll actually do, then we can start meeting in the middle. That's not what happened. What happened was, no, not that. Try again. In a group project, if 2 students go up to the teacher after getting a D, which is essentially what the $600 was, and the teacher's trying to figure out who was at fault, and the first person says, here's all the work I did, the second person goes, well, I don't like any of that, and they have nothing to show that they actually did themselves, that's what we're dealing with right now. Trump said in October to give him a standalone stimulus bill and he would pass it. Trump's not a legislator. That's why I said I'm talking about Republicans here, not Trump individually. You need to hold the Senate Republicans accountable. They could have passed a standalone stimulus bill. Democrats are obviously going to push for what Democrats want. If Trump is the leader of the Republican Party, which as the president by default he is, because that's the way this works, then he could have gone to the Republicans and said, I want a $2,000 standalone stimulus bill. My point is you've got all talk from the Republicans and no legislation, none, no work, which means you've got bullshit. Republicans are trash just like the Democrats. Democrats have work to show. There's your difference. Republicans have literally nothing but talk at this point. Hell, this stimulus package that Trump just vetoed, his Treasury Secretary, Mnuchin, I always mispronounce his name, was involved in the whole process. There was never anything said to Pelosi or anybody else that I'm aware of saying Trump was going to veto this until the last minute. And by waiting to the last minute to threaten the veto or to push people for it, all the people that were getting COVID unemployment money from the previous bill and all the people that were staying in their houses and not being evicted because of the moratorium on evictions that was in the previous bill, that shit's gone now. Like I said, Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris were the ones pushing for a $2,000 second stimulus a lot earlier than Trump ever came out for it. He could have pushed the Republicans during this, even if he did it privately during the election process. He could have gone to McConnell and several Republican senators and said, look, I'm coming out with this publicly because I'm going to campaign on it. You guys better get behind it or you're going to look like idiots. Obviously, that didn't happen. We waited till the last minute, and that's a problem. Dems say burn down the house, and Republicans say, whoa, whoa, let's just burn down the kitchen. None of them make sense. We need to vote them out, all of them. I think I think Democrats are saying, hey, the kitchen's on fire. We need to spend the money on a fire extinguisher and, I don't know, a small fire truck. And Republicans just keep saying, no, not that. If they legitimately said, hey, here's the bill saying we'll pay for a fire extinguisher, you'd have an argument. But like I said, you have no work. All you have is talk, not you personally. And I'm sorry you missed the beginning of the show, and it's not your fault. I know how Facebook and YouTube do notifications. Okay. But as I addressed earlier, I'm not talking about you, the individual Republican. You and I could probably hash this out, just like you and your girlfriend can usually hash out where you want to go eat. But you both start making suggestions, and it becomes a team effort. In legislation, your bill that you're going to send to the other house is your suggestion. We don't have that right now. We don't have the Republican bill. I can't even point to the Republican bill and say, that's what I disagree with, because they can't pass it. When the 3.4 stimulus, the second stimulus package was passed, the one that's still sitting in the Senate, Mitch McConnell said, hey, I want a $500 billion skinny stimulus package that provides basically a cover for employers, for big companies that say their employees can't sue them for lack of COVID precautions. He couldn't even get it passed through the Republican Senate. Republicans can't even agree enough on what they want to pass a bill. And then after Trump comes out saying, hey, I want a $2,000 stimulus check, we're going to veto this whole thing, I've got Rand Paul on television with Fox News saying that, a $2,000 stimulus is just a socialist giving people free money for, egghead bad idea thing. If you wanted to vote for Trump and you had voted against every Republican nominee down ticket, hey, that's fine. You and I've got no disagreement. Besides the fact that I think you could have done a lot better than Trump, but I'm talking on this particular issue, we don't have a disagreement. Starting a new party called the Patriot Party. Republicans are all talk and Dems are way too out there. I don't think Dems are way out there, but I would be fine with a progressive party that's more progressive than the Democrats. I think they're way too centrist for the most part for me. Like I've told you before, both personally and on the show, Biden is just a return to normal for me from where we're at. Unfortunately, starting third parties don't typically work in this country, but if y'all can pull it off and lose a bunch of elections in the meantime, hey, I'm all for it. That's just the way our system's set up. But like I said previously, to clarify, on the $2,000 and on the $600 being an insult to the American people, I welcome Trump on board. I've been saying this for ages. Bernie Sanders has said it since before the first stimulus package. Kamala Harris has said it since before the first stimulus package. This is a progressive position. Even a blind squirrel can find a nut on occasion. I'm happy Trump's with us on this. The way he handled it, by waiting to the last minute, not pushing, advocating, shoving his party to get anything done, and by vetoing the last bill so that all the COVID unemployment money expires, so the people that, thought they had a budget because they thought this bill was passed and might have paid for a small Christmas just got screwed hard. The people that are going to get evicted because now landlords can evict people again, there's no moratorium on it. all because we decided to go radio silent on this, besides a couple of tweets. The method in which he did it is completely unacceptable to me. No different than if you ran through 15 places to go eat, your girlfriend kept just saying, no, not that. So finally you fucking picked one, and then she threw a temper tantrum in the middle of the restaurant. That's what we're dealing with right now. You're going to get kicked out of the restaurant. Nobody gets to eat. Well, considering food bank lines are at record highs and people can get evicted again, we're looking pretty damn close to that. Trump fans are different than Republicans. Trump was a Democrat before 2016. Need some normal-minded people in there. I agree we need some normal-minded people. I think we need some reality-based people, people that deal with facts, evidence, reality-based positions. I don't know if you caught the part where I was talking about the different global conspiracies I had to stick to be a conservative Republican. There are some Republicans that are different than Trump fans. I think you'll have a strong base in the Republican Party, and the Republican Party has been scared to confront y'all for quite some time, so they just continue to go with the majority of whatever Trump wants. Honestly, in this particular instance, speaking to the $600, we're going to veto the whole bill, screw it mentality, I think this is just a way to shove the debt onto the next administration, onto Biden. So that way, when Republicans and when Trump want to run for office again, there's a chance that he might not have the highest debt and the highest deficit out of all the presidents who've ever fucking been elected. Because you notice for the last 4 years, we really haven't talked about the debt, the deficit, fiscal responsibility, and all that kind of stuff very much. I think that's what's going on. That, not to mention just cutting the unemployment benefit, and the unemployment benefit alone is going to cut a huge amount of debt from the current federal government. I mean, that's just a given. Your money's still on Trump being the next president. Unless he can prove election fraud, brother, I will be personally opposing a coup. I'm just being flat honest with you. My oath to this country that I took when I signed up in the military requires that. If he can prove evidence of fraud, that's a whole different ballgame, but right now that's where we're sitting. If you want to turn over a constitutionally mandated election based on nothing more than, but somebody says there was fraud, that's not good enough. Because I can say, I know plenty of people who say there wasn't. So then we're right back to, we need evidence to prove that there was. He's got it. It's coming, my man. He's got evidence. Brother, I've been hearing that. It's coming in 5 days, 10 days, 2 weeks since election night. Let me know when you actually got it. We're right back to the same thing that you were just agreeing with me about Republicans being a problem with. It's all talk and no work. I want to see the work. You need to send me some videos that you have now. More than welcome. You know I watch all of this stuff. If it's like that damn COVID video I just went through, though, where the number 33 proves that COVID is a hoax, I'm going to throw something at you. I will fly up to where you are now, and I will throw something at you because you'll deserve it. But in your defense, you've never given me anything as boneheadedly stupid as that is. Most of the stuff you send me is actually fairly decent. Requires a fair amount of research for me to go through and point out the problem with it. I think that's fair. I got the crying smiley face emojis for the people who can't see the chat right now. You didn't see the COVID video? I got in an online discussion with a guy, a full-blown QAnon supporter who claimed that COVID was a hoax. And it's literally just because he clipped a bunch of newscasters that, you know, in different places, they had 33 new cases that day. So because of the number 33, you know, around the entire globe, you could find, I don't know, I think it was maybe 20 people saying that, you know, there were 33 new cases that day in their town. Then that proves it was planned, because obviously they all got a memo saying that they were supposed to say that there's 33 new cases that day. So that proves it. It was a worldwide conspiracy theory, because they all got a memo to say that they got 33 new cases that day. That was the extent of it. There was no analysis at the end of it. All there was at the beginning was the typical, oh, well, you know, this is mighty strange. What do you think about this type nonsense? I mean, it was ridiculous. But you can go watch. It's probably about 4 or 5 minutes, maybe 10 before you popped in. I'm not misrepresenting the thing. It was that damn bad. This guy also happened to think, and I gave him the number. He said he was going to call in, but you know, these types, they normally don't, right? He also claimed that I'm not former military. I'm still currently military, but the CIA and the United States Army, and I'm not making this term up, sheep dipped me, which basically means they, you know, said that I left the military and, you know, wiped my service record clean so it would look like I'm actually a civilian, but I'm actually on assignment from the CIA and from the United States Army to sow discord in the American populace against President Trump. Just like Lee Harvey Oswald was sent by the CIA and the United States military to handle, you know, Kennedy. Apparently I'm doing the same thing, but with a podcast. Oh, nice. You didn't get that vibe at work. Well, you know, I had a lot of CIA training, my brother. So, I mean, it's just, I worked long and hard at it. And I mean, obviously all of this shit in here is, I mean, plainly, you know, government issue, right? Because there's so many progressives that are vocal about being progressive in the military, right? I mean, it's, you know, that from your time in the service. I must have missed where this, you know, oh shit, right there. It says U.S. Army. Yep. Property of the CIA. See? But how do I have a discussion with that guy? I mean, come on, for real. If I am and I didn't tell you, you're going to come here and throw something at me? Well, be careful. You might get, like, you know, detained along the way. I mean, you know, the CIA is everywhere. We got that secret memo going out with the 33 COVID cases in multiple countries, apparently. So, you know, better watch out, man. They got you on record now. But yeah, Kelvin, I'd encourage you to go watch the beginning of the show. I think I addressed a lot of the stuff regarding this particular bill. Like I said, I'm not upset with Trump's advocating for a higher stimulus. It's specific to the way that he handled it. There's going to be a lot of people hurting from this, from losing just the unemployment bonus that was going on with it, essentially on Christmas Day. And the Democrats, and I mean, Pelosi didn't even bark back at him. She just said, hey, I'm all on board. Please get the Republicans back on board. The only way we can pass this right now is unanimous consent, because we don't have the time essentially to rewrite a whole new bill. So it's got to be an amendment. So if you get the Republicans on board, we'll do it right now. And it didn't happen. You're back down to Republicans just fucking the American people. Good talks like always. Hope they tell me before you're done. Nah, I'll just pop up in a new place with a new name and a new government issue set, apparently. But Anyway, brother, that's going to wrap it up for us today. I appreciate you tuning in. If you make any comments on the video, I do go back and read them, so feel free. And as always, great discussion. Everybody have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you next time around.